Okay, you guys, I'm going to teach you CAGED. I've taught it many times before. It's very poorly taught by most instructors. I'm so sorry I'm calling a lot of you guys out on this. You just tend to go a little too far, too fast, and too complicated because it does go there quickly, but you got to resist that. Here is the secret to really learning the CAGED system well. So, what you want to first do is figure out what CAGED is. It's the chords of C, A, G, and E, and D. Those chords, we're going to stay in the major form for now, okay? Those chords spell the word CAGED in that order, and the order is important and very relevant. Check this out. So, whenever you play a C, you play an A major, you play a G major, play an E major, and play a D major. Okay? That right there is a foundation. Step one is over. Here's phase two, step two, whatever. You want to take those chords and go again. Go back to your C major and note where that root note is. It's on the A string, 3rd fret. And just take a note of how it is related to the rest of the notes here, the chord. Shape, right? Right there on the A string. Next chord is an A, major. Open A string is your root note. Next chord is a G major. Low 3rd fret, E string is the root note. Notice how it is related to the chord. Next chord is E, CAGED. Open E string is my low root note in this shape. And then finally the next chord and the final chord is a D major where that low root note is right there on the open D. Notice its location relative to the rest of the chord. Now, phase 2 is over, right? Hopefully you made some good notes. Phase 3 is to now find the C major chord 5 different ways. And you're already like, what? Well, I just demonstrated that earlier. I'm going to go and do it one more time, a little slower. That's C major with a C shape. That's C major with an A shape. That's C major with a G shape. That's C major with an E shape. And here's an awkward one. That's a C major chord with a D shape. Okay? So when I demonstrated that earlier, I went right into it to kind of show off, but also to tease you. That's the next step. I'm going to go back to the 3rd phase. That's phase 4, a little sneak peek. Phase 3 is that before I even can start walking, I need to crawl a little bit. Check this out. Whenever I want to play an E chord, many of us have already played bar chords before. And so if you play something like this or this, that's where it comes from, is that E shape. That is CAGED. Just you probably weren't said, or you weren't taught, hey, this is the CAGED system. It was just, no, here's a bar chord, move that E shape. But that's part of the magic and the use of CAGED. So I'm starting with E, even though that's like 4th in line of our 5 chords, because that is the easiest and usually the first shape that we use and approach for this kind of system. So E major. Play that E major as if you can't use your first finger, but you must still play those same exact notes. Okay? And now you've got that limb available. Go ahead and bring it up. Bar the 1st fret. That went from E to F major. You need to know your 12 notes. If you don't know it, take a step back and memorize those. That's an F major. F sharp major. This would be a G major. Here's a G sharp. A major. A sharp major. I'm not going into flats today, by the way. B major, and then finally, it does keep going, by the way, until you run out of frets, quite literally, but that 8th fret mark right there is the C major. Sounds similar, right? A little bit different in its tone and texture, but it's the same 3 notes at play. A C, E, and a G. That's a lesson for another time. So, we're now deep in the weeds of phase 3, right? Taking these shapes and start moving them up. The E shape is the easiest, so we started with that. Do the same exercise for all of them. I'll go in order for you. The A is probably the next one you've done if you have before. Play an A with that first finger available. Slide that up a half step and bar. 1st fret. Now you got an A sharp, B, A. There's that C again. And you may have noticed I play my A shapes a little differently. Playing like so. Either one's cool. And that does keep going up, by the way. All 12 major chords you can approach and play with that A shape. The next in order that I like to go into is this. It just gets kind of harder from here. And I don't want you to stress about this. I always tell my students, don't feel like you got to be able to play these perfectly. Not many artists will actually approach the chords in this extreme way. I do whenever I'm teaching the concept, though, because it makes it much easier to utilize and pull apart and actually have fun with later. This is not that lesson. Sorry, this is not the fun CAGED lesson. Maybe I'll do another one. Comment below, and I'll be inspired to show you some cool CAGED stuff. Hendrix is like, anyway, back to this. I will say C would maybe be like the next chord I would show somebody. So play a C major chord. There it is, right? Remember that low root note? Okay, make a note of that. Put your pinky there. In fact, same rule, get that first finger available. Now as I move that up, I'm going to bar the top 3 strings because those high E and G were the open strings. And so now I'm going to go ahead and cover those 3. That way I've got a nice little bar system happening here. That's a C sharp major. That would be a D major chord. And I'm going to stop here for a second and make a note that that pinky right there is a note on the note of D. Now it's on the note of D sharp, the note of E, and so forth. If I wanted to jump right into an F major chord with a C shape, I know that's a lot. F major chord with a C shape. Well, I got to think C shape, okay? That A string right here is the root note. I've got to find that with my pinky. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. And then formulate my shape behind it. I'm definitely pushing right through a lot of little steps I would normally break down in a one-on-one lesson, but that is the way that phase 3 is done. You can do this for the rest of the chords. For the D major chord, notice that root note of D is right there. Simply rearrange your fingers, move it up a half step, get yourself a D sharp. Another one is an E, and that root note is an E, right? So if you want to find chords with a D shape, locate that root note on the D string. You guys are probably like, what is happening? If you're fully hanging on, awesome. Maybe you've learned a little bit of this before. Don't stress about it. Most of the time when the D chord is played in the CAGED system way, you can always just use that triad as itself. That's a full-on major chord right there, and you can just kind of swing it around. D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. Again, I'm just going to go real light on this stuff, but just start playing around with that. Okay, and then you've got the G. This one is everyone's least favorite, so I saved the worst for last. And that right there is the G major. I'm playing it this way, by the way, not this way or this way for a reason, because my first finger is automatically available. Now note that the D, G, and B strings were open, so those are the 3 I'm going to try to cover. Move it up a half step, bar the first fret. That's a G sharp. Move it up again, you got an A major chord. Move it up again, you got A sharp. Move it again, you got B. And sure enough, that was that C major I played earlier. Kind of interesting, right? And yeah, you're right. If I wanted to find a C major chord with that G shape, that low root note's on the E string 3rd fret. G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. Make that shape behind it. Most people do this, by the way, because they forget there's this whole other gap right there. Leave that space. This just takes a little time, and go easy on yourself. This is one of the hardest concepts I ever learned as a guitar player, but also one of the most rewarding. So take your time. You will make a lot of mistakes. It's really hard. But have fun with it. That's a C major. C sharp, D, and it just keeps on going until, you get right back around to a G major, an octave higher. And it's kind of cool, and its use is insanely helpful in making really neat little guitar lines and sounds and understanding some of the most iconic solos and guitar licks of all time. A lot of those kind of are tracing on some of those chords and using parts of those. So phase 3 is just moving around each of the shapes and just kind of getting familiar with them, one at a time, really slow. Phase 4, which I kind of teased you with and then took a step back with, I did for a reason, because I wanted you guys to see it all kind of come together in one chord, but with 5 different shapes, okay? because I also wanted to highlight the fact that those root notes really matter and the order matters. So back to it, it was a C major. That's the note of C, that's my root note. The next shape is A, and that is the next shape up from here, C, A, and caged. Also in order of how this works on the guitar. Isn't that great? A string 3rd fret. There it is. So C major with an A shape. Then I go for my C major with a G shape. Just think C, A, G in caged. G, A sharp, B, C. There it is. Isn't that great? Also, it's kind of connected to that. Interesting, right? As in that note was also connected to that. There's a lot of little kind of overlap naturally, of course. So, whoa, I got a little bit weird there. We played a C major chord with a G shape. That's how hard it is, even I mess it up still, guys, so don't even panic. That G shape is C, A, G. That's the shape before the E shape. So, that's the next one we gotta find. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. There you go. There's your C. If you know that note, that the 8th fret of the E string is the note of C, you go right to it. Okay? C with a C, C with an A, C with a G, and C with an E. Last shape is the D shape, right? Okay? Let's do it the hard way. D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. Make that shape of D behind it, and you've got yourself a D shape C major chord. This is also a common error in that people will do this and forget there's a natural gap in there as well. Just right there is in that 1st fret area. So there you have it. You've got yourself caged. All 4 steps. If you want to get into the funner stuff, let me know. I encourage you to take each of those steps, really break it down, go as slow as you need, and have fun exploring the different ways of playing all these chords, and know that it is just the tip of the iceberg. I hope to see you guys in another video. Please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment if you want me to kind of go like next level on this whole caged concept. I'd love to show you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.